Disappointing seasons for both Von Miller and Bradley Chubb in 2019. Von Miller failed to reach double-digit sacks for just the second time in his career. Bradley Chubb tore his ACL just 4 games into the season. Hello, and thank you for joining us for our Countdown to Camp series. I'm Phil Milani alongside Sidney Jones and Eric Dalala. We're going over expectations for both of the Broncos pass rushers. Sidney, let's start with you and start with Von Miller.
Well, I think both Von and Chubb are going to have a really great season. I'm really excited to see this duo back at it. But to start with Von, like you said, I think we're going to see him jump back into that 10-plus sack range. Like you said, last year was his first season, not in double digits for a while. And, plus with Chubb back and the addition of Jarrell Casey this offseason, opposing offenses are going to have a lot more to worry about than simply just Von. I mean, last year, like you said, he had 8 sacks, I think just over 45 total tackles. And with these additions that we have, I think he's going to have the opportunity to record maybe, 10 plus sacks back in that double digit range and 50 plus tackles. That's my expectation for him this season. And, outside stats, I obviously think he's going to be the leader on the team that he has been for a while. So I expect the same from him in that regard.
Yeah, well, he's got 106 career sacks, and I think, definitely going to be past 115 after this year, maybe push 120. I think a return to double digits, this would be the 8th time in his career. I think makes a lot of sense. He had 14 and a half a couple years ago when Bradley Chubb was on the field. I'm not sure he can reach that number. He is 31 years old, so he's getting up there a little bit. But still, an impressive player, still has that bend, that speed. And here's something else about Von that, we've talked a lot about Bradley not being there, but Von battled a knee injury for a lot of last season. He missed that game against the Chargers. He was on the injury report a lot, barely played against the Texans in that win. And so, we've heard him talk about training extensively going into this year. If he's fully healthy, I think you could see that also be kind of an addition to his game and help him get back to that double-digit level.
And while his sack numbers were down last season, he was still impacting the game a lot of different ways. A big tackler, good in the run game. He's considered one of the top pass rushers in NFL history. Here are a couple of other names and what they did in their 10th season. Bruce Smith had 10 sacks. Reggie White, 8 sacks. Kevin Green, 14 sacks, was an All-Pro that season. Julius Peppers had 11 sacks. So those numbers from those guys in their 10th season. I would expect Von Miller to get back into that range there and, be among some of the all-time greats on that list there. Let's switch gears here to what is going to be an important season for Bradley Chubb, his 3rd in the NFL. Sidney, what are expectations for him?
I'm going to say maybe around the 8-plus sack range and 60-plus tackles. Because I'd like to remember back at his rookie year, he had 60 tackles and 12 sacks. So while I don't think he'll be, back at that point to where he was prior to his injury, I think it'll take a little bit longer for him to get there. But I think he's going to have a great season nonetheless.
Jump back on the bandwagon, Phil, because Bradley Chubb is going to have more than 15 sacks. He's going to have 2 in week 1 against Ryan Tannehill. I mean, man, this guy's been working like crazy, 12 sacks as a rookie, only going to be better. He didn't get to the quarterback a lot in the first 4 games, but had a lot of pressures that suggested he was close. And so, I think he's going to end up with more than Von Miller. And, if they had 26 and a half combined in 2018, I think maybe you could see a role reversal here where Bradley ends up with 15 or so, maybe Von's close to that 10 or 11 mark. But it's difficult for 2 guys to get to 10. I think last season only 14 players in the NFL had more than 10 sacks. So that kind of describes the difficulty of 2 guys on the same team getting there. But I'm just so impressed with Bradley Chubb's work ethic, his strength, able to push those offensive tackles back off the line of scrimmage. And man, he's just going to have a heck of a year, which is important because the Broncos have to decide whether to pick up his 5th-year option at the end of the next year. So he would be well served to have a good year.
We saw that workout video he dropped. I mean, he's back. He's ready to go. And, not to put too much high expectations on him, but a good comparison might be a guy like J.J. Watt. Tore his ACL in 2017, came back the next year, had 16 sacks and was an All-Pro that year. So it can be done. So we'll have to see. Of course, Von Miller tore his ACL in 2013 and came back just fine. So expecting big things from Bradley Chubb and the Broncos pass rush duo. Eric, I'm saving the tape. You said more sacks than Von Miller, so we'll have to see.
Yeah, 15 plus. Let's go and tell
Okay.
Ryan Tannehill to watch out.
Good thing I'm recording. We'll save this in the archives. So, all right, that's going to do it for us. We'll be back with another countdown tomorrow. Until then, for Sydney Jones and Eric Dalala, I'm Phil Moore.